evening, and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think VSC is a home shopping network.
Oh, I get it. It's been a couple of weeks since I got one of those. So you're talking about Vitória SC from Portugal, aren't you?
Yes, that would be VSC, not QVC, the Home Shopping Network. And we bring up VSC because let's just say that Arsenal ended up having a good evening at the end of the day. But it started off as a very bad evening for Arsenal in the Europa League, where they seem to struggle with teams from Portugal. I remember last year Sporting Lisbon really gave them a run. But at the end of the game, it was Nicolas Pepe finally
much to ride in Black Phil over there,
showing why Arsenal spent $72 million on him with not one but two amazing free kick goals to bring Arsenal from behind to win in the Europa League today by a score of 3-2. And that was a cracker of a match. What did you think about that?
Oh, I hated it. We'll probably save this conversation for later, but I'm going to say for about all but 5 minutes of that game, I was exceptionally annoyed. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, we're of course talking about Arsenal versus Vitória in the UEFA Europa League, and Arsenal walked into that knowing everyone knew Arsenal was going to win, but they walked in knowing it. And Vitória turned up today, and they played a very, very good brand of football, I have to say.
Arsenal played poorly, but don't take it away from Vitória, because they came to play. And I'll tell you what, if you put just a plain white T-shirt on every player on the field and had shown somebody the game before that, the first half of this game, and said, one of these is an elite Premier League team, and one is a team from
the other one's Tottenham. The other one's Tottenham.
I think that just about everybody would have thought that Vitória was the Big Six Premier League team. Right. They just outplayed Arsenal in every sense of the game. But then in the second half, I think what Unai Emery was trying to do was rest some of his big guns today. And then in the second half, first he had to bring in, it was Guendouzi and Ceballos that he brought in at halftime. And then Pepe was the third sub. And it was really Guendouzi and Pepe, the subs were responsible, because Guendouzi made an amazing run late in the game to set up that free kick that was as close to a penalty kick distance as you can get with a free kick. It was 19 yards out, right in front of the net.
Yeah. I've got to say, Guendouzi irritates me, but impresses me. Probably more impresses me than irritates me, because you know what? He's a young kid, he's full of enthusiasm, and he has a passion for the game, but also at the same time, he's a young kid, and he's enthusiastic, and he has a passion for the game. So he's great, but he also kind of gets a little bit, just young and stupid at times. You can see the red mist coming down. There was a couple of issues there, I think, when Lacazette did his theatrics. I think his Oscar's in the mail for that one.
I thought that it looked like Lacazette was playing with a ball that was filled with helium today.
Yeah, he's coming off an injury. I see Lacazette cutting a really frustrated figure on the field. Mm-hmm. And I can understand this. All right, we're not going to be talking about Arsenal all night, by the way, everyone. But I can understand this real quick because, it's frustrating as a player to watch this, knowing that you've got these talented players, but they're playing as a team of individuals. There seems to be no cohesion and no structure around the Arsenal attack at the moment, or defence for that matter. It's all just a little bit Well, we'll just throw some players on and see if that changes things. You know, this is your fourth grade Armadale bloody football here. This is not Arsenal.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head, and here's what the problem is. So first you have whatever's going on with the Mesut Ozil situation, and this was a guy that was supposedly a captain. Then you've got your other captain, Granite the Hit Ducker Shaka, who nobody on this club is going to be, he's probably the worst guy in the starting 11 on a regular basis. Guendouzi is probably the leader of the team, but like you said, he just celebrated his 20th birthday, and I will tell you, he has grown miles from last season in terms of his maturity on the field. But like you said, he's still a 20-year-old kid. He still makes mistakes. They don't have that veteran leader. They don't have that guy on the field that you want to call skipper.
All right. What about this? What about your friend and mine, Phil Bellerin? I don't know that winds you up, so I said it that way. Hector Bellerin, he got the captain's armband today.
Well, I mean, he's been injured, and he's certainly a guy that when he does come back, at least on the back line, he's a guy who's a leader on defense.
Yes,
another guy who was in the lineup today that's also been injured that's a leader is Rob Holding. But what I'm talking about is not so much on the back line, but from the front line, I don't see that they have that guy anywhere in the midfield.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly my point. Why Lacazette's cutting a frustrated figure is because there doesn't seem to be that transition at all in any sense. Playing out the back into a good midfield and then onto your forwards. It's very disjointed. All of a sudden, everyone's just sort of wandering around, and Lacazette's trying to make something out of nothing there in the front. You know what I mean? So, of course, he's going to be frustrated. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, and then on top of that, you have basically what Arsenal needs is the player that Mesut Ozil is supposed to be.
Yeah, no, you're quite right.
They don't have a legitimate number 10. I mean, they've got, Pepe, he's a winger. Laka, he's a striker. Aubameyang, he's a striker. They don't have that number 10 that center attacking midfield, if you will.
You know, I saw Guendouzi make that busting run. I was like, that's something I haven't seen from an Arsenal player in a good 10 years, I think. And I don't think I'm exaggerating there either. Like a good busting run down the middle, evading a few players and, getting knocked over the penalty line, because otherwise, if you don't knock him down, he's going to go all the way and score. I don't think I've seen that since Carlo Touré played for us. I don't know, man. That's been a long time since I've seen a run like that. That's positive. The rest of it's all just bollocks. It's Wenger ball. We've regressed back to where we were 2 years ago, and we're just knocking around. No movement, no idea, and just basically no inspiration. It's awful to watch. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, the whole problem with that, and this was something that I was talking to my mom about today during the game, is that Guendouzi, he's essentially your holding midfielder. He's your guy that's supposed to be sitting back and, making sure that you don't have somebody running free deep in the midfield, facilitating the ball up front to the wingers. He's not an attacking player. He's not the guy who you should be counting on to try to win that. That's not his role. He's not a number 10. He's your number 6.
Well, here's my counter argument to it. I think he's making a statement that he wants to have that number 10 role.
I've seen his shot, and he's not a number 10.
All right. Never mind. We digress massively. As I said, this podcast, this MLS USL Playoff Edition podcast, is not all about Arsenal, because it is indeed playoff season.
That's what happens when Matt's not around. We go on.
I know.
Arsenal tangent for now 10 minutes. 21 seconds.
No, we're not going to talk about Frank Lampard, that's for sure, because it's playoff season in US football. This means that, as you've probably realised already, Matt the Wizard Robards has been knocked out of this episode. For the rest of the footballing world, playoffs are a weird American convention that allows greater TV revenue, and another winner after the actual winner of the season has already won. Put away your supporters' trophies because this is the gold medal round. There's no extra time in this podcast, no penalties, just a bunch of riveting games that we have to, nay, must talk about. Here's the kickoff whistle, Phil. Let's rock and roll.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Yeah, that was better than mine. So we go from one team of individuals to another. Shall we start with tier 2 in the American leagues, shall we? And we're going to go to another team of individuals. The Yellow Submarine has been sunk. It's official. The history-making, and I put history in inverted commas, history-making New Mexico United are, in fact, history. And they've been knocked out by quality, I have to say, Sacramento side.
Yeah, that was quite a game last night, and we're talking about the play-in rounds for the USL Championship playoff. Those games happened yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday night. It was Wednesday that it was actually the second of the two Western Conference games when the collective New Mexico United traveled to Sacramento, and things got off to a good start. New Mexico took on an early lead.
Early. I think that was probably the earliest lead I've ever seen in any football match. They scored after 14 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even get the ball from midfield to the goal in 14 seconds. But
it was a bit of a miserable own goal, actually. The defender, whoever it was, just put a lazy leg out, and that was just enough to divert it past the keeper. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, might have been New Mexico's only shot on goal in the first half. They were by and large just defending. They were outclassed, and that was that one lucky goal that actually kept them in it. For those of you that don't know, I think we should probably take a step back here, Phil, right? Because there has been this year this nascent rivalry between New Mexico United and, of course, our, podcast favourites here, Phoenix Rising. Not that, obviously proximity is the thing. Four Corners Cup is the thing. So, there was a cup that was introduced this year because the Four Corner States, which is Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and, of course, Arizona, for the first time had teams in the same competition ever, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a bit of a rivalry there. But more so, I think it was probably the youngsters, the new kids on the block, if you will, were kind of taking a bit of a chomp out of Phoenix Rising during the season. Yes, they did beat us in the US Open Cup tie that we had. They've been a difficult neighbour to have, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, I think that the thing that we have to at least admit is that New Mexico United is the only team in the Western Conference that Phoenix didn't beat this year, and they actually had 3 shots at it. They actually had 3 draws almost because the U.S. Open Cup loss was in penalties. So, I mean, these teams, they played a 90-minute game, and the very first, that was the home opener for Phoenix, actually. Yes. That was a 3-3 draw. And then about couldn't have been more than a month later, again at Phoenix in the U.S. Open Cup. That was another one. I believe it was a 1-1 draw at the end of regulation. Ended up 2-2 at the end of extra time, and then New Mexico did take that in penalties. And then, fourth to the last game of the season, traveled to New Mexico. New Mexico got ahead 2-0, and then there were 2 late goals by Joey Calistri that allowed Phoenix to walk away from that one with a draw. So, I mean, nobody has given Phoenix more trouble. We will give hats off that listen, New Mexico United, you did a great first season.
Absolutely.
You put together a nice roster. all of that, it's just the running of the mouths and the whole collective. And Kevon Frater is a jackass.
We're going to interrupt this telecast, this broadcast, just at the moment because there has been a goal scored in El Clasico.
El Traffico.
El Traffico. I beg your pardon. El Traffico. And no, in fact, it was cleared off the line. It stands 2-1 LAFC over LA Galaxy. That's a hell of a match. I'll tell you what. Yes, just one last thing on New Mexico United before we go. Well done on your opening season. You've given us someone to loathe over here, and I think that is an absolute plus for the USL. I wish you a very tricky sophomore season.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a rivalry with them for years to come. And I mean, the USL Championship, it's going to be fun because you've got, in most sports leagues, you've got Phoenix, and then you've got California teams, and then maybe you've got a Denver or a Salt Lake, but that's it. In the USL Championship, you've got Phoenix, you've got a new team coming in San Diego, you've got LA Galaxy 2, I should say, which are in Los Angeles. You've got Orange County, you've got Salt Lake City, you've got Sacramento, you've got Las Vegas, you've got Reno, you've got El Paso, you've got Albuquerque.
Yeah. Well, Albuquerque is where New Mexico United is based.
There's so many Southwestern teams, and Zlatan has just leveled it at 2.
Bam! And he's run a mile. He's celebrating that one like he's just won the championship. I think that won't count a lot because Carlos Vela scored the second goal and pretty much did the same thing. And there's the obligatory shot of Carlos Vela. And I quite like this. You know, I'm not a fan of LA teams, but this is great. I think now it's time to turn our attention to the MLS playoffs. And I have to say, mate, it has been sensational football. You know, the change in format, so there isn't a home and away anymore. It's one and done. This means that, okay, so the 2 games obviously was there so that you get more bums on seats. But this means that you're actually getting some games that bums on the seats want to watch. Do you know what I mean? It's been sensational football. It is balls to the wall. They give it their all for the full 90 minutes. In some cases, 120 minutes, and it's been great to watch.
Yeah, I mean, almost every game has come down to the final minutes or extra time. For my money, the Dallas at Seattle game in the first round is football game of the year so far. Totally. At least for the United States. I mean, I'm not going to say what happened around the world, but I cannot imagine there has been another football game in the United States. And when I say football, I'm talking any kind of football. I'm talking association football. I'm talking American football. I'm talking football games that had everything. You had back and forth scoring. Yeah. You had overtime. You had people fighting and almost getting thrown off the field, but not. And then a last-minute win, and that game just had everything.
It really did. It really did. In the 18th minute, it looked like it was going to be regulation Sounders win, which I think all 3 of us said, yes, Sounders are going to trounce FC Dallas. Sounders scored 1-0. All right, there we go. Everything's right and well. But all of a sudden, FC Dallas are like, you know what? We're not done. So, and then in the 39th minute, the 63rd minute, they scored a couple of goals. Seattle scored 1. And it was basically, let's just score a goal each and see who knocks each other out. Let's see who's, still standing at the end of the regulation 90 minutes. And then let's go on for another half an hour. And it was sensational, man. And I've got to say, though, the referee probably assisted that quite a bit because, in reality, there should have been some red cards in that game.
It should have finished about 8-8 in reality.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you what, is Seattle is one of those older and experienced teams, and Dallas is the youngest team in the league, so they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I believe so.
I would say a year or two from now, look for Dallas to be possibly contending for the Cup, if not next year.
Yeah, I hope to see that squad together. I was honestly surprised that they performed so well. And going into that match, like what were they? Seattle Sounders was second in the division. Dallas was seventh. You did not know that going in. Like, they certainly stepped up. And I think this is the point that we're talking about, It didn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's one game. Anything can happen. And they put everything onto that field for a full 90 minutes, sometimes 120. Another highlight of that round?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I just want to kind of make a point about this, is, say what you will about the MLS, and clearly the football that's played in the MLS, and the quality is not what it is in the Premier League or La Liga or Bundesliga. But let's look at this, and this is what, to me, is what's interesting about the MLS, is that, okay, so you're saying that Seattle was second in the Western Conference, so, they're the third or fourth best team, say, in the regular season, and then you have Dallas, who's the seventh best team in the conference, so they're the 13th or 14th, and there's not much between the third or fourth best team and the 13th or 14th best team. If you're in the Premier League team and you have the third best team against the 13th team, there's a huge gulf in talent.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, Phil, and I think this is interesting for our overseas listeners to know about why these playoffs are really fascinating to watch. Okay, so in the English Premier League, in fact, in all the English leagues, it's basically a game of attrition, isn't it? It's like who can last longest over, 38, 46 games. Here, yes, I mean, that counts for something, that you win the regular season. And certainly there's some bragging rights in that. But then what happens is you go into basically an FA Cup on top of your regular season, isn't it? So you get your best teams go through and off you go and you play an FA Cup round. And everyone knows what happens in the FA Cup.
I think a better comparison would be the promotion playoffs, because the FA Cup brings everybody in, right? I think the promotion playoffs would be more like, imagine if let's say that nobody got automatically promoted and everybody was playing for the promotion playoffs, and then the real champion was whoever came out of that and not the regular season.
Yep, I like that. That's exactly right, Phil. That is a better analogy, so thank you for schooling me there, mate.
No, I just thought it was a little more clear that way.
Yeah, no, you're right, and you're spot on. And everyone knows in those playoff games, well, it's again, there is like that home and away situation there, so you get those cagey games for sure. But it is like the last game of the playoffs, the playoff promotion place. It's just scintillating stuff, and, that can go either way. Nick of a goal or, just an errant foot in defence, and the game's won. And this is how these guys are playing it, with the exception of maybe one or two teams. One of them is DC United, who I think I picked and you guys didn't. I'm just going to say they thoroughly thumped DC United 5-1. But the other one, which I think, man, I'm disappointed by this, I have to say.
I went against DC United because DC United was kind of, we all agreed that once Wayne said that he was going back to England, that DC United died that day.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. And they certainly did, and they sort of scraped in, and it was just a miserable match. I mean, it did go to extra time, to be fair. Right, courtesy of
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was 1-1 at the end of 90 and 5-1 at the end of 120. Boy, Zlatan almost just hit one in there.
The other one that I'm super, super disappointed about, and I'm really surprised at this, was, and it was LA Galaxy's previous opposition before this game that we're watching now. It was Minnesota. They kind of went out with a whimper, and it was really disappointing, I have to say.
I think that came down to a number of things. I think one of it was experience, where LA Galaxy just had a little bit more in terms of players who were experienced in the MLS playoffs. I think that Minnesota maybe had a little bit of happy to be there in them, possibly. And then at the end of the day, it was kind of like Callum said, is LA Galaxy, they didn't look all that great this season at times.
Right.
But in terms of attacking talent, they have as good a team as anybody in the league. I mean, and it's not just Zlatan. When we talked to Callum, he said that don't underrate the Galaxy based on their regular season record, because on paper there's really not a better attacking team out there, and they're showing it. And I mean, they're right now, as I'm watching, they're peppering LAFC's goaltender as we're sitting here. I mean, there's teams out there that
almost another goal there. All right, yeah, you're right. No, that's right. That was LA Galaxy. Sorry, I cut in over the top.
There's older veteran teams out there like that can kind of turn it on for the playoffs, and I think LA Galaxy may be one of those teams, on top of the fact that they have their LA Galaxy has been to LAFC what New Mexico United has been to Phoenix Rising. They're that one team they can't beat.
Yep, fair enough. I get that. All right, so moving on out of that, let's have a look at the semi-finals, which were played last night. And again, another bunch of cracking games. Beg your pardon. There was some played last night. So we had New York City FC versus Toronto FC, which I spoke about at length last time. I'll come back to that in 1 second. And Seattle Sounders versus Real Salt Lake. That was an interesting bunch of games, those two.
They just scored Diego Rossi.
Velo put the ball through. Yep, that's him. Oh, man, and I'll tell you what, if ever you doubt that football is not a game that Americans play, all you need to do is have a look at that stadium. That is a tumultuous crowd of black mostly and a little bit of white in there, flags waving, people hooting and hollering, smoke going off. That is the most raucous crowd I think I've seen in American football.
I was just barely onside.
Just barely. Oh, wow. I don't know if that is onside, eh? Oh, gee, maybe an armpit in it. I think they'll probably let that stand. That's
yeah, he was onside.
Yeah. And that's some good strength there shown by Vela, I have to say. That's excellent.
Captain Picard is happy on the sidelines.
Know exactly who you're talking about there. Yeah, look at him. Did he take his shirt off? He looks like he's got a farmer's tan wearing that shirt. Oh, man. Can we do across the catwalk? Could that be our next show? We digress entirely. I want to go back to the MLS Cup conference semi-finals. New York City FC, who I think we all picked going through to the final of this, were knocked out in rather sensational circumstances last night by Toronto FC. Now, do you remember when I was waxing lyrical about how there should be a bigger rivalry between America's biggest city and Canada? Sorry.
Oh, wow, 4-2.
Oh, bam.
4-2. Diamande.
Yeah, I don't know how you could even see that because that smoke has not cleared. That's the end of that game. That's amazing.
I don't know. There's still 20-plus minutes left. I don't know if it's over.
Game's over. That's it. I don't see LA Galaxy, as good as they were looking, scoring another 3 goals to get this through.
They'd only need 2 to get it to overtime.
How can you even see the goal from there? For those of you that obviously can't see because we're a podcast, there's all of supporter smoke from the smoke bombs, which they let off now in the MLS and the USL as well. And you basically can't even see the goal. And he needs to put another jumper on or something, another jacket or something, because the coach for LAFC looks like he's naked and he hasn't spent much time in the sun. Anyway, we digress once again. So I think that kind of typifies just how fascinating this playoff series has been, because, that was 2-2 a moment ago, and all of a sudden there's 4-2. Huge passion around the ground there. And as I said, I haven't seen celebrations like it in American sports. Like that is just pure joy. Let's go back, though.
I tried to go to this game.
You did?
And it would have been over $200 for the cheapest seat. So those people that are sitting down there in the front row, they probably paid $800 to be there.
So they'd fucking want to cheer, is what you're saying.
I hope they got free beer or something.
Well, it's certainly not dollar beer night there for $200. All right, back to NYCFC versus Toronto. You may remember me waxing lyrical about how you should have had the biggest city in the US versus the biggest city in Canada as a huge rivalry. Well, guess what? I think it's going to be, because upset of the season, I have to say. NYCFC. We weren't sure whether they were going to be able to play their home games at Yankee Stadium. Turns out they're not, because they got beaten 2-1 by Toronto.
Wow.
And it was super, super late when that penalty goal, when that penalty kick was converted there by Alejandro Pozuelo. New York City FC. Is there another goal scored? You can't see anything. It looks like a London fog down there. The commentators can't call this match because there's so much bloody smoke.
Well, I mean, they're in LA, so I mean, Snoop Dogg's probably in the front row there somewhere.
Yes, and it's called El Traffico, so, there's plenty of smoke.
There was almost another goal, and I couldn't see who the defender was.
No one can see anything there. It's ridiculous.
It would have gotten past the keeper, but one of the defenders happened to make a good block on it. But yeah, it was almost 5-2 there a minute ago.
Damn. All right, I'm done with MICFC. They lost. Toronto FC won.
This game is so action-packed, we keep getting distracted.
But this is exactly my point. You know what? I let my allegiance out last week on Twitter that I am a Minnesota fan, and naturally they lost, because I'm seriously the worst person to have in your corner. Do you know what I mean?
I'm wearing my Loon shirt right now.
Oh, good man. Oh, that's good.
I'm wearing the shirt and wishing they were playing in this game like they should have been.
And you're right, and I did pick that. I think you picked that as well. No.
I did. I picked them to get to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, Zlatan almost, they're not going to give him the penalty there.
Anyway, the other game now, this is really interesting. I actually had a chat to a guy this morning when I was dropping my child off to school. He is a coach, or a former coach, for Real Salt Lake. And you've never seen a man who is so crestfallen in his life. He looks like he's just, signed off on his second divorce. He just looked miserable. And I saw him, and of course I marched all the way over to him. And was like, "How you doing today, mate?" Because I think I had Seattle going through on this. Real Salt Lake, you picked it as being sleepers. And I actually told him that. I said, you know what, I thought they would actually go and scrape through, because no one was paying attention to them. They're all looking at the bigger clubs like Seattle and the LAs of the world. Not to be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just went with that, like you said, that maybe they would sneak up on some people. And then the first round, they did get through, and they looked real strong against Portland in some terrible weather. But then, Seattle was just too much, and I really think for Seattle, winning that game against Dallas, that's the kind of game that when you win a game like that, that really boosts you for the next round.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely spot on. Surprised Portland didn't do the little run, but it looks like the Northwest flag has been flown by the Sounders. The other game earlier today was, of course, Atlanta United versus Philadelphia. I think we all picked Atlanta going through at that point, didn't we?
So let me ask you this. So we know that Seattle is through. right now it's looking like LAFC's through. Who would you like in a Seattle versus LAFC match?
I'm very much anti Los Angeles. I love LA as a town. Don't get me wrong. I hate their sporting franchises. I really do. I find them all obnoxious. Maybe that's just my, I don't know, Australian, Arizonan narrow mindset, if you will. But I've got to have someone to hate, haven't I? So,
well, yeah. I mean, it's like Phoenix and LA are kind of like New York and Boston. I mean. Sure. If you're a Boston guy, you're not going to generally root for New York. It's not because you hate the city and Zlatan, you can't use your hands there. He's offsides and using his hands and looking at the ref like, what did I do?
He does think he is God. Maybe he was trying to replicate the hand of God.
Well, watch this. Here's the replay. Watch. He's offsides and using his hand. So
it's the Zlatan. Come on. He's giving him H. That's hilarious.
I guess tigers don't have hands. Or lions don't have hands.
That's right. Tigers and Charlie Sheen. All right, back to your original question anyway, Phil. So, it looks like it's going to be an LAFC versus Seattle Sounders conference final there. I'm going to go for the underdogs every time, regardless of who it is, whether it's LAFC or LA Galaxy. I've already said that, I'm not partial to either of those teams. I'm always going to go the underdogs. It's Seattle Sounders. You know what? I was in Seattle over the summer, and I was surprised at the depth of support in that town for the Sounders. Most of the summer, you know what I mean? Obviously, the Seahawks are on break, but so are the Sounders as well. But everywhere you went, I'd see Sounders flags. I'm like, there's passion for this game in that town. I like that. I wouldn't say that they were a soccer town, but damn, they love their football.
Oh, no, they are a soccer town. I would say they're a soccer town. I mean, I'm not going to say they don't love their Mariners and their Seahawks, because they do. And I'm not going to say that, American football isn't goal for the Galaxy, are back in it. That might have been offsides. No, they're wild. Okay, so we're going into the 78th minute. It's LAFC 4, LA Galaxy 3. And I'm going to say that we're probably going to have at least 5 or 6 minutes stoppage time. So
this continues to be an amazing playoff series. I mean, that's it. It's game back on again. I just called it off a moment ago. It's game on again.
And you were the one that was saying how important set pieces have been in the playoffs?
No, that was Matt. I'll give Matt that, but he's been relegated, so I'll take that. Yeah.
That was another goal off a set piece. It was a free kick. Ooh. Really poor marking by.
I don't even think anyone got a hand on that or a foot or anything on that. That just went straight through, didn't it?
Yeah, it really looked too easy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the keeper looked like he was distracted by the attacking LA Galaxy and just completely forgot about the ball. He stood there. He was rooted to the spot and the ball just sailed into the net. That's remarkable. Wow. So, yeah, here we go. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. I mean, it's been a delight to watch. It's anyone's game. And right now, it's 4-3. We've got about 12 minutes to play. Fantastic stuff. Atlanta, Toronto is the other Eastern Conference one. How do you see that one going?
I think that Atlanta United is a team that they won the championship last year. I think that they're battle tested. I think that they've got the match at home. They're hard to beat at home. I mean, the Mercedes-Benz is a fortress. Yeah. I really think that Joseph Martinez might be the best player of the MLS. So I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one because everyone's sort of overlooked Toronto. I did pick Atlanta originally. I'm still going to go with Atlanta.
Diamante 5-3 LAFC now.
This is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. All right.
He just ran completely free. Nobody touched him. That was the worst defense. I've never even seen Arsenal that bad on defense.
Well, I was going to say that's not the worst defense I've seen today, but that was pretty close to it. Unbelievable. This is incredible scenes. You know what? $200 seems like a bit of a bargain right now, mate.
Oh.
I mean, what's that? That's about 20. Let's just go with 25 roughly dollars a goal. That seems pretty fucking decent for a football match, man.
Yeah, maybe. It's a good one. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what, it's been entertaining. So for our English,
Diamande, he's got a brace tonight. This was a guy that wasn't even playing until last week. He just came back last week.
Matt, sorry, Phil. Phil, do we want to have a friendly little bet to see if Diamante is going to get a hat trick tonight? Because that would be a wonderful way to seal that victory, wouldn't it?
You think he's going to get one?
Let's go.
Okay, yeah. What do we get a wager here? I think that the loser of the bet has to sing a Randy Travis song.
All right, I'm going to have to listen to Randy Travis first.
I'm picking Randy because he's got a very low vocal range.
Okay.
I tried the Michael Bolton. I practiced it, and I hurt my throat. So we're just going to go with Randy Travis, which would be a nice low-pitched song that either one of us can sing.
All right. I'm with you on that.
All right. So if Diamande gets a hat trick, I'm singing. Is that how it goes?
Yep. No. I'm calling the hat trick. So if he gets a hat trick, if he gets a hat trick, you're singing.
Oh, here he is right now. Oh, he almost had it right there. Are you
sure you want to play this game, mate?
Yeah, I'm down. We only got 10 minutes plus stoppage time left. He almost just scored twice while we were trying to make the bet, so why not?
All right, bets on. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, real quick. We didn't get an answer to Atlanta versus Toronto. You said Atlanta is going to go through Falcon Field. They're going to have 70,000 people in that venue. That is going to be an amazing atmosphere. Not many traveling fans, I would imagine. Although I don't know, Toronto, they're probably a bunch of snowbirds sitting there at Atlanta right now. So yeah, you never know.
Canadian sports fans are pretty fanatical, so I wouldn't be surprised, especially a team with Toronto with a lot of history. Now, the interesting thing is if we ended up with Toronto versus LAFC, that would be a Bradley Bowl, where we would have LAFC manager Bob Bradley versus his son, Toronto midfielder Michael Bradley.
Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I imagine Bob. Wow. I don't know. How does this go? I'm a dad, all right? So I've got my little one's just 5 years of age. So I've got a number of years before, I'm beaten at anything. But I'd imagine, Bob's a little bit older these days. Maybe he's about to get his ass kicked.
On the documentary We Are LAFC, that was something that they actually did go into when they played Toronto during the regular season, and as I recall, I think they were all about kicking each other's ass. But then at the same time, it was just like, it was one of those, they hug and cry for 10 minutes and it's all emotional and they go try to kick each other's ass kind of thing.
It seems like a typical sort of father-son dynamic there. I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those sub-stories that's the kind of thing that ESPN will talk about as much as the fact that Jerome Bettis is from Detroit.
Right, I can't talk to that, but yeah, all right, cool.
Somebody will get that one.
All right, I'll take your word for it, Phil. Speaking of which, we have a new segment on the show, and I'm going to introduce this one because Phil won't. This is called Controversial Comments by Phil. Now, Phil, you've learned a lot about the game. It's fantastic. I love that you're, a student of the game. It's brilliant. You may overreach sometimes, I'm just going to say. It's great fun when you do. It really is. So in this new segment, I'm going to introduce this. Phil, I don't have one for this week. There's a number that came to mind, but I just didn't want to, just call you out in too much. I'm just giving you a heads up that this thing's happening, okay?
I'm all for it.
All right. So what's going to happen with this segment, is that I'm going to, or maybe Matt as well, maybe we'll have like a little off-air discussion about this, but we're going to have a little discussion about what was Phil's most controversial call of the week. And then we're going to go and put it to a poll on our social media. Matt's not here, so I'll do it. You can see us at Across the Pitch on Facebook, at Across Pitch on Twitter, and various other social media networks. We're going to go and put up a poll, and you're going to vote, and that's going to be our controversial comment of the week by Phil, and it'll be a great discussion, I guarantee you. I look forward to it.
What was my controversial call for last week?
Oh, man, if I had to pull one out, it's Pepe is overrated. No, it's not. No, I don't think so. No. Oh, I'm going to have to give that some consideration. Have a look back at your Twitter timeline, mate.
Well, I didn't say that he was overrated. I said that we overpaid for him, and before today, it looked like it. But yet, here's the thing: is I've seen a lot of stats. Like I believe that Thierry Henry scored like 1 goal in his first 14 games. Yeah. So I think sometimes we just got to be patient with.
Whether
it be a player or a manager, or I think that I guess I thought this was an American thing, but I think more that I've gotten into it, it's English people are more in the mood to sack the gaffer than we are.
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, we've had a couple of bad results being Arsenal fans. Arsenal, the crowd is already upset after a couple of bad results. I'm kind of on the fence for this one. I don't know. I'm not going to go there. That'll be a controversial comment for me if I were to go anywhere there. Hey, Arsenal fans, not getting involved with that one. Thank you very much.
The board has your support.
No. You know what, Phil? But I have to say, your dedication, your passion for the game is bar none. No, seriously, I love it. If you're not watching this guy on Twitter, you should be. What are you now? What is your handle on Twitter, Phil?
Well, I've got my personal one is at Aki Rising. Right. Most of the posting I do is on the Across Pitch, but we also have Across the Gridiron, which the very first episode of that is being published tonight, so you can catch us on Across Gridiron.
That'll be great.
And also Across the Rink, which is Across Rink. So we're covering a whole wide world of sports here, and also don't forget about our partner site, Ghana Football News, and also we have the new Across the Sports Facebook group, which we need to get that going a little bit more, but we really want that to be about user-generated content. So if you listen to the show, please join the Facebook group Across the Sports. And post your thoughts, post your favorite things about your clubs, and we really want to get the user content going in that group and get people because that's what this is all about, is bringing people together from everywhere, from Arizona to Aki to Accra, and just talking about sports.
Absolutely. And that's it. And you know what? I know I've said this before. Yes, you can have your game. Guess what? You can love more than one game. We've got quite large brains as humans, okay? So if you're a human, go and just give us a go. Go and see what we're saying on these other channels over there. I think that's going to be worth your while. Also, we're funny as shit.